Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, entitled mom just has to get her angel baby boy in first instead of a dying patient. What's something completely insane your parents did that you only understood how messed up it is when you became older? I am 31, asked my father-in-law, am 60, to start contributing to household expenses again after I found out that my wife, F31, had not told me that he had stopped financially contributing. Now he is looking at moving out and possibly being homeless. Did I do the right thing? Any advice you can give? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled mom just has to get her angel baby boy in first instead of a dying patient. So this was as satisfying as hell. 2 weeks ago, a woman came in with her 7-year-old son. He had sprained his ankle but didn't seem to be in any pain and was playing in the waiting area. EM came up and asked when we would see her son, and the nurse told her as soon as a doctor was available to check on her son. As I'm on my way down, we get a heads up that there'd been a crash and one person is in critical condition. Me, co-worker and one nurse rush to her side and try to take her vitals and do a quick checkup as fast as possible while on the way to OR. This mother had seen me walk down to the waiting area, then saw me rush to the emergency and decided that was unacceptable and stood in front of us and demanded that we help her and her son. I was too focused at saving my patient, so I yelled for security and, not so proud of this, told her to either get out of our way or we would have her arrested. She was escorted out of there shocked and tried to get some people in the waiting or on her side, but some of them gave her an earful. Had that patient died because of her, she would have been arrested, but thankfully the patient survived. And when I came back after giving away the patient to the OR staff, I came back and checked on her son. Told her that if she ever pulled a stunt like that again, I would have her arrested. When I was 31 weeks pregnant, I started bleeding heavily and my boss rushed me to my OB/GYN up the block, so I was seen immediately, and I remember the doc leaving me for a couple minutes to remount someone who complained over being made to wait. Dr. Hudson is a legend, and I'll never forget her. Doc Hudson was the best dirt track racer I'd ever seen. I hope you had an uneventful rest of your pregnancy and an easy birth. How is your little one doing these days? You get seen in order of severity if issue. This is standard. Sprained ankle can wait. I work in a hospital also. There's not a day goes by that security isn't dragging someone out cause their kid has a cough, but the person who just came in not breathing or responsive goes first. I thought this was common bloody knowledge. I have often been the first one in and the last one out. Each time one of my kids was heading to the ER whilst bleeding, I would have a white cloth to staunch the bleeding, and the red part would be on display when we entered the ER. Small child plus blood. Someone at least check to make sure it is not vital. One time it was, time-wise at least, severed fingertip. Fun night. I went to ER with a 3 inches cut that needed stitches and was put in a room. While I was being prepped for stitches, a code blue was called and everyone left. At 19 years old, even I understood the severity of that. The ward clerk would check on me and I could hear everything. The person didn't make it. Heartbreaking. The doc came back in and said we had to get started because an ambulance had called in another. He finished as the ambulance arrived. He was a rock star. Where I live, she would have been arrested for that. Getting in the way of active medical personnel trying to save a life is something that will get you arrested and charged. It's never okay to do that. I remember a night shift where we had a cardiac arrest on the ward. The patient opposite kept ringing his call bell asking for a cup of tea, wasn't traumatized, just an awful human, while everyone was busy working on trying to sustain someone's life. He was told he would get a tea as soon as possible, but would have to wait as there was an emergency going on. Just kept pressing the bell. Knob. My husband went into cardiac arrest in the early hours of the morning after surgery in 2016. They worked on him for 45 minutes and managed to get his heart beating again. But he had no brain activity and was in a coma for 21 days before he passed. Those 21 days were the worst and longest days of my life. I'm still traumatized by it. I've only complained once, but we had been there for 8 hours. I had a super sick kid. Turns out everyone decided they needed their appendix out at the same time and they were backed up due to war. I've gone in for myself and waited 4 hours in the waiting room, but there was a super sweet family dealing with having to fly their child to another hospital. Parents were talking next to me, impossible to not overhear. Another time I sat in the room and what sounded like a sweet little kid had broken their arm was across the hall from me. Mom and me was like, "Nope, I'm good." Poor baby was crying and screaming. I had come in with a broken foot. Why do people in A&E/ER not grasp that waiting is good? If you skip the queue, then it means you're very, very sick. This is not a good thing. What's something completely insane your parents did that you only understood how messed up it is when you became older? My mom wouldn't allow me to dress myself until I was a senior in high school. Every time I tried to choose my own shirt or pants, she would tell me to go put something else on, then repeat it, and then start an argument where I would just get emotionally exhausted or start to feel guilty for disobeying my mom and go put on what she wanted, all the way until senior year of high school. I'm 25 now and never understood just how emasculating that was and how low it would make me feel. My dad demanded my sister and I put our dogs outside in a lightning storm to pee with their invisible fence collars on. We didn't do it and they were in the house when he got home. The storm was even worse at this point. In response, he put them outside himself, then locked me and my sister in the dogs' crates in the garage to show us how the dogs felt for a few hours. I'm not losing any sleep about him being gone. You should have locked him outside to pee in the rain with an electric collar. My parents are Mexican immigrants, but my dad became a citizen along the way anyways. They raised me to cook and clean. I was the middle child of 2 brothers. They always hated when I would focus on school work outside of school and would scream at me to stop. They said women are only good for cooking and cleaning. Currently I'm in school for my master's. I'm working as a RN. My 2 brothers are working customer service jobs and both decided not to go to college after high school. My mom giving me the silent treatment if I said something she disliked or did something that pissed her off. Half the time I didn't even know what I'd done wrong. As a mom now, I can't imagine ignoring my kid the way she did me or not outright correcting the issue. I was going to separately make this comment as I routinely got the silent treatment. The longest was for 6 months during my HSC Year 12 exams. There was only her and I in the house. Still don't know what I did wrong. These are probably small things in comparison, but the older I get, the more they upset me. They wouldn't pay for glasses for me even though I literally couldn't see the blackboard at school. My dad took me for an eye exam and when I was perusing frames afterwards, he came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" I never said I was buying you glasses in this aggressive, angry tone. My dad wasn't usually like that and it still confuses me to this day. Why he was angry at me over needing glasses, which I finally got at 23 when my state insurance actually covered them, which they do not anymore and only did so for about a year. I wear glasses 24/7, I obviously needed them. They also would not pay for braces and now my teeth are screwed up. They never taught me how to drive, but they did teach my 3 siblings. My dad is a software engineer, he has always made decent money. So it wasn't because we couldn't afford it. I, M31, asked my father-in-law, M60, to start contributing to household expenses again after I found out that my wife, F31, had not told me that he had stopped financially contributing. Now he is looking at moving out and possibly being homeless. Did I do the right thing? Any advice you can give? My M31, father-in-law, M60, has lived with my family, me, wife, 31, and 2 children, 4 and 2, for about 3 years without making any regular contributions towards the household. He occasionally helps with the groceries here and there, paid for a moving truck hire 3 months ago, $500, and some shelving about 2 years ago, $600. The issue is we've had to move into larger houses to accommodate him and our living arrangements. This leaves us having to pay $550 a week in rent. He gets his own room, toilet, bathroom, whilst my family has to share one small en-suite bathroom. All the while we are living beyond our means and our savings are declining. We were hoping 2 years ago that he would start contributing, but he hasn't. 6 months ago he offered to start paying $150 a week, and this became an agreement with me chasing him up. My wife took over the household finances. In this time I found out that he had stopped paying and became furious with my wife. I told her that both she and her father broke my trust. With him stopping to contribute and not saying anything. And with her not saying anything whilst watching our savings dwindle. I knew this was a delicate matter, so I calmly and quietly asked him why he had stopped contributing to the rent. He mentioned that as a handyman, he had a slow turnover of getting paid. I then said, "But you haven't paid anything since March," and he just acknowledged that. I then asked him if he was able to start contributing $150 to the household starting in 2 weeks. He agreed. Since then he has completely stopped talking to me. He approached my wife and said that he would have to either start contributing $150 or I would be turfing him onto the street. I know that he doesn't make much as a handyman, but we already have 2 children to support and can't support 3 dependents. I feel like even a teenager could make $150 a week. But he feels too prideful to work for somebody else. And he can't get welfare because he has been doing cash-in-hand jobs for 30 years and hasn't filed his taxes. Sadly, my wife is really upset. She feels obligated to her dad and loves having him around, but knows that we can't afford to financially support him. Did I do the right thing? Am I in the wrong? What advice can you give? Up. Your father-in-law is acting like a stubborn teen. However, he is a grown man who has taken care of himself before and can do so again. First, move your savings to a different bank and take them out of your wife's reach. Then, figure out 2 family budgets that have your family adding to important savings instead of overspending. Plan A1 with your FIL paying the going rate for his bedroom and en-suite room. Plan B. FIL pays for his groceries and own needs, but the whole family lives on a very tight budget while you save up to move back to a smaller apartment where FIL isn't dependent on for money, but has to share a bathroom with everyone else and sleeps on a pull-out couch in the living room. Be very clear that both plans include a place for him to live there. So if he wants to leave, that will be 100% his choice alone. Don't let him throwing tantrums and drama drive you into debt. Honestly, if you are paying for all the utilities, food and rent, then he is a leech. Maybe it is time to let your spouse know that unless he contributes, he is drying up your bank account and all of you will be out on the streets, which includes her and your children. If baby man, her father, doesn't want to contribute, then it is basically his decision to end up homeless. That is not on you or your spouse. Let her know that if he is more important than your children, then the 2 of them can live wherever, but you are done, and you will fight to keep the children. You might want to add that you will report him to whatever government agency in your country charges taxes. Also, since he is working on a cash basis only, when he retires, how does he expect to live, since there will be no social security for him, since he hasn't paid into it? Are you and your spouse supposed to let him live with you until he dies? Get him out of your house as fast as possible and let him worry about where he is going to live and never ever let him move back in with you. The man is 60 years old, not 90. He's a liar, a tax cheat and a manipulator. Your wife has deceived you and puts her dad's demands before your children and you. Call his bluff and let him move out. I don't think he's too proud to work for someone else. He's just found a good excuse to not pay his way and have everything handed to him on a silver platter. He's an adult, he can work for someone else to pay his way. Needs must. Agree. Too proud to work for someone else, but not too proud to sponge off his daughter and her family? I call BS. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.